All right. Well, first things first, why have you decided to run?
Yeah, so great question. One of the things that's near and dear to my heart is this city. I've been living in the city of Long Beach for the better part of 12 years now. And part of the reason I wanted to be here was because of the diversity, the energy, just the humility from the people. It was all wonderful. When I first moved here, there were already some crime and things happening, but to the degree that it's now happening was not the case. So things have gotten
Yeah,
exponentially worse. Um, in addition to that, I feel like the current politicians that we have in place with the administration aren't doing what's being asked of them by the current residents. I've been to plenty of city hall meetings along with a lot of my neighbors, and it seems like it's just in one ear and out the other. So it's not in a place that we wanted to be. The truth is that I'd be happy to vote for somebody that I feel would do a great job with the city. Unfortunately, there was nobody on the ballot.
yeah,
So I just decided to take it upon myself and make a run. It's definitely a long shot. We were at an event last night with two other candidates, and we were just talking about two residents about just the current political climate and the fact that we're really going up against the machine. They have a lot of donors and they have a lot of money,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we know that with the grassroots effort and making headway with the different neighbors around the districts, we're going to put ourselves in a good position to go against the incumbent.
All right. What are the main issues that you want to prioritize?
So there's three. I try to keep it as simple as possible. The truth is, we can talk about 20, 25 issues, hundreds of issues, but I try to make it as simple as possible for the residents. So the first one being the budget. Without the other two things that I'm going to talk about, if we don't have a budget, if we don't have the money,
Yeah,
there's very little chance of things going through. So budget is going to be one of my main priorities to balance it. In California, in Southern California, and specifically the city of Long Beach, we have a 10.5% tax rate, city tax rate.
yeah,
So, on top of our property taxes, on top of our federal income taxes or state taxes, we also have to pay a sales tax whenever we purchase products. And you have a lot of residents that will actually go out of their way and leave the city, if not the state, to do their shopping in order to get a better deal. So it's
yeah,
not because the city is getting a lack of money, it's just poor management. It's mismanagement. There was an article in the Long Beach Post not too long ago talking about how the city had to fire one of their nonprofits that they were working with homelessness because only
yeah,
a small percentage of beds were being used at a homeless um, shelter at a local hotel. So that's Exhibit A about how this current administration is not doing what we're putting them
yeah,
responsible for in terms of the money that we give them. So budget is number one. Crime is the second one, along with traffic accidents. So crime is rampant in the city. Just yesterday, I'm going to post about this in just a little bit on my social media feed. My building that I live in, the condominium building, was vandalized and burglarized literally yesterday morning at around 5 a.m. I
yeah,
reached out to Long Beach PD, but they took down the report. And when my neighbors came by and talked to the police officer and said, what do you guys actually do with this? Because in the last 18 months, we've been vandalized, burglarized at least half a dozen times. And if I go beyond the 18 months, it's a lot more than that. So residents are fed up with that. Residents get assaulted on a daily basis without
yeah,
any doing on their own part. We have a lot of transients in our city who are unstable and cannot make rational decisions. And so they attack people without any reason. That's on top of the crime that we see on a daily basis with homicide, that we see with violent crime, robberies. So, in order to do that, we need personnel. We need more police officers. We need more lateral movements. Lateral movements, what I mean by that is police officers from other agencies coming to Long Beach
yeah,
so we can recruit them. We know this is a wonderful city, and we feel that we're in a better position to recruit police officers in some of the local cities. But in order to do that, we need to put the funds up. And by doing that, you need to be able to fix the budget. So
yeah,
public safety is definitely a priority. Are the traffic accidents. Um, in the last 3 weeks, we've had at least one person pass away because of a traffic accident. Right now, we're on track to lose the most amount of people in any recorded year for the amount of traffic accident fatalities that we've had. Just yesterday, it was another one on Wardlow, one of the local streets here in the city of Long Beach. So it's something that it has to give priority.
Yeah.
It costs money to do that. And so I'm not advocating for us to re-engineer the light system or anything like that. That would take too much time and take too much money and our valuable resources.
Yeah.
But there are fixes that you can have, such as roundabouts, such as speed bumps, crossing guards. I know I've talked about cutting personnel, but there are people that are willing to volunteer as crossing guards. There are people who are willing to join our ranks as a cross. And so there are lots of things. Point being is that there are lots of things that we can do to make this a better place for pedestrians, bicyclists, because I see it every day on the roads here in Long Beach. In November of 2024, I was hit by a drunk driver a couple of blocks away from where I live. So
That's
it's
awful.
definitely something that hits close to home. So those are the three things. If any
Yeah.
local Long Beach residents were to take a look at my website, they'll know that those are the three. Are there more things that I want to give priority to? Absolutely, but I would say those are the probably the three biggest ones.
All right. Can you tell me more about the measures, the specific measures that you would take in order to balance the budget?
Absolutely. So we need to get rid of personnel. That's first and foremost. Just over 70% of our budget from the general fund goes to salaries and pensions.
Yeah.
We know that there's a lot of people in the city of Long Beach who do a wonderful job, and we commend them for it. However, not everybody needs to be there. So one of the things I would do is just do an audit, see what positions are absolutely necessary. I've been in a position before at schools where during COVID, for example, we had to give very valid reasons for keeping staff members on our,
Yeah.
paid salaries. That was really uncomfortable. It wasn't a fun thing to do. It was quite unpopular, but we had to do things. We had to freeze, salaries. We had to cut back on payments for our 403Bs. We had to reduce the amount of overtime. All that's to say it can be done. It's not going to be popular, but if we don't do it now, we're in for a very rough financial next few years.
Yeah.
So that's one of the measures I would take is cutting back on positions, salary positions, especially high level positions too, that don't need to be there, that are not absolutely critical to the city. The other thing I would do is take a close look at the Olympics coming to Long Beach. So the Olympics are coming to Los Angeles, but a lot of different
Yeah.
municipalities are involved, not just the city of Los Angeles. Long Beach is hosting, close to a dozen events. And with that comes a lot of paid resources. Now, do I think we need to get rid of the Olympics completely from Southern California? No, I don't think it's in a position to need to do that. But what I will say is that Long Beach does not have the infrastructure in place to host that many
Yeah.
events over a 2 week period. So I'm advocating for us to re examine that um, because if we don't, there's a strong possibility that the fiscal crisis that we're in right now is only going to get worse after 2028.
Yeah. All right. What are the specific measures that you wanna implement on, to tackle crime?
Hiring more police officers. Like I mentioned earlier, there are
Yeah.
plenty of police officers in, all over the United States that, we need to make a case for them to come to California. There's a lot of things in the media about our state, about Southern California, our region, that are simply not true. And I think a lot of people from different states and cities get frightened about the idea of coming here. It's too expensive. There's a lot of crime. While things are true, there's no doubt about it. I mean, part of the reason is because of the advent
Yeah.
of major crimes. It's still a wonderful place to live. Otherwise, I wouldn't be living in the city. Otherwise, I wouldn't be running for mayor. And so I know that there are plenty of eligible candidates out there. Part of what I do for my 9 to 5, and what I did for many years, I was a college admissions officer. And part of that entails recruiting top talent from all
Yeah.
across the United States. And so, in my heart of hearts, I'm a recruiter. and I know I can deploy the resources necessary to recruit top talent, not just across the state of California, but throughout the United States. So we need to get creative about bonuses, lateral moves. We also need to examine the current people that are in there, just like any other department in our city, and see what we
Yeah,
need to cut in order to make room. I know that if there are people there that shouldn't be there, then we're going to make room for people that truly want to be there. So, um, more police officers, certainly, and just encouraging the public to report crime. Part of the reason that um, our current mayor has been able to report some nice statistics about crime is that people grow tired of it and they stop reporting it. And so
yeah,
even yesterday myself, I was kind of over it. It was like, well, this is happening again, and yet people are still doing the crime and there's no consequences as a result.
yeah,
So why am I going to take time out of my day when I'm working and use up my lunch hour or use up time that I need to make up down the road in order to report a crime that I know is going to take not only 15 minutes on the phone, but I got
yeah,
to talk to the police officer for another 20 or 30 minutes. But I did it. I did it because talk is cheap and you have to put actions into practice. And I know if it goes unreported, then that's only going to make things worse. So, all I'm trying to say, I guess it's a long winded way of saying that we really need to educate our public and get our public's trust again in order for them to
yeah,
continue to report crimes. Because if we don't do that, things are going to go unreported. It's only going to get worse.
yeah. All right. And on the issue of traffic accidents and road safety, what are the most specific measures you want to take?
Yeah, I think it's going to be that one's probably going to be the more challenging part because we need to get our county constituents representation better yet and our state representation to support us. They got to be able to help us out and subsidize.
Yeah,
Um, we have Metro, for example, the public transit system for the greater Los Angeles area, Los Angeles County. We need to find a way to collaborate with them to have these safety measures in place. They do a lot with different municipalities. And
yeah,
because the Metro A line comes into the city, I know that's a possibility. So collaboration with our partners in order to do the things that I mentioned earlier about additional speed bumps, cameras, stricter enforcement. We need to have collaboration with our district attorney because a lot of these crimes are not getting prosecuted, or those that are getting prosecuted, very little happens. So I can tell
yeah,
you firsthand experience. I was hit by a drunk driver, and when I reviewed the footage from the police officers, it was almost like they weren't taking it very seriously. And there was one
yeah,
officer who was, I could tell that he was treating the person respectfully. He's still a human being. He was treating him respectfully and he was trying to get information. But the truth is, even one of the police officers didn't believe what I had to say. I saw it on camera. I saw him telling the other police
yeah,
officer, keep like, I'm not really buying what this guy had to say. Well, it happened. They caught it on camera, and the insurance company ended up going and siding with me. So there's clearly a fracture in what's going on with enforcement. So I want to make sure if I'm elected mayor, consistent conversation with our DA to make sure these crimes are being prosecuted in a way that they need to.
yeah. All right. Is there any minor issues that you want to mention before we go?
Well, I wouldn't call it a minor issue, but obviously homelessness is a big problem too. It's not one
Yeah,
of the top three things I mentioned on my website, but believe you me, it's definitely something that's incredibly important because I'm not saying that it always leads to it, but a lot of the crimes being committed in the city are happening because of transients, unfortunately.
yeah,
Um, we don't have, we can't tolerate that. We can't do that any longer. If there are crimes that are happening and they're happening by transients, we really need to enforce them. We can't just turn the other cheek because it's not a tier one call. Otherwise, things are going to get worse. I am a true believer that yes, you have to prioritize your assets and make sure that you're going to the tier one calls. But if, as the old saying goes, if your street's not clean, it's going to lead to something, right?
yeah,
My fellow candidate Joshua Rodriguez, who's also running for mayor, said this last night. He's a police officer for LAPD, and the broken window theory. There's a reason why if you have a broken window in a nice neighborhood, it's not going to stick around for long. They're going to fix it right away. In Long Beach, that's not the case. We really need to take pride in our city again. Um,
Yeah,
it's going to take a village. We have to get residents engaged to help them truly understand the need of reporting crime and making sure that we're tackling the homelessness. They're human beings, and I want to be able to support them, but enough's enough. We
yeah,
also need to look closely at the fact that a lot of the transients in our city are not from Long Beach. I had an opportunity to meet a lot of them because I used to do some community service in the area and deliver food. When you actually engage with them in a conversation, you quickly realize that they're from places like Alabama, Florida, Texas,
yeah,
Louisiana, somewhere in the Midwest. This is a nice place to live. We get a lot more sunshine than a lot of those places do.
yeah,
All that's to say that if states are not helping them out and we're bearing the brunt of it, something needs to happen. So we need to hold those states and counties accountable as well. So again, not a minor issue, but certainly an issue
yeah. An
that I'm thinking
important
about
issue.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much
Yeah.
for answering all my questions.
Absolutely. So you're based out of Spain, is that correct?
Yeah, the Northwest.
The northwest of Spain. Okay. And then this is for specifically a newspaper that you're with or a project that you're
Uh,
working on?
no, I'm gonna upload this to my personal YouTube where I
Okay.
post all these interviews. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Lorena. It was really nice chatting with you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Take care.
Take care. Bye.